Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Irene and I cannot believe that another year has gone by and we are here at the end of 2024, so I am back with another book recap. I tried really hard to beat my record last year of reading 41 books. I almost didn't make it, but I really pushed through the last 2 months. So I started off the year reading The Last Phone Booth in Manhattan by Beth Berlin and Danielle Modafferi, and this was kind of like a holiday read, which was not really for me. I wasn't able to get into it and it took me like weeks to finish this book. Then I jumped into Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, which was another great hit. So I read all 3 books in that series: House of Earth and Blood, House of Sky and Breath, and House of Flame and Shadow. It definitely took me a little bit longer to get into this series compared to the other 2 series. I feel like the characters in the storyline was just a little bit more complex. I definitely found that it was interesting that she incorporated like modern day technology into that world. I think just with all the complexities and with the books being like almost 1,000 pages each, it definitely was a little bit more of a complex read compared to her other series. I followed that up with The Real Deal by Caitlin Devlin, which was a documentary style book about kids growing up famous. I just wasn't really able to get into it. What is Love by Jen Comfort. This was just like your average romance novel. The Magnolia Park series by Jessa Hastings. I actually only finished 3 books in this series. I read Magnolia Park's Daisy Hates and Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home, and I feel like this was kind of like the college version of The Clique, if you ever read that series, just with like a lot of toxic relationships. I just wasn't able to get into it because of the toxic relationships, and I feel like each book was kind of like the same thing, just with a different set of characters. Their Last Resort by R.S. Gray. This was like a beach read romance. Let's Pretend This Will Work by Maddie Dawson. It was somewhat of a slow and predictable love story about a single dad and the new woman in town. The Shatter Me series by Tahira Mafi. There were 11 books in this series. Some were shorter than others, but it was a suspenseful dystopian series about individuals with superpowers. I feel like in terms of like dystopian books, it ranks definitely higher for me, but I definitely wasn't as into it as some of the other series that I read. Friends with Secrets by Christine Gunders. This was surprisingly one of my favorite books this year. It was the perfect balance of suspense and lightheartedness, and it just had a really good storyline. It was free on Amazon First Read, so that just made it even better. Nine-Tailed by J.C. Lee. This one was a Korean mythology fantasy meets modern day America. So if you think about like a fantasy K-drama, but then you like make it into a book, that's what this is. Sorry for the Inconvenience by Farah Naz Rishi. This was an intriguing memoir that I found myself kind of relating to, honestly, as a second generation Asian American eldest daughter, and not just because my fiance's name is also Steven. Natural Selection by Ellen Hilderbrand. This was kind of a run-of-the-mill short story, like a super quick beginning, middle, end. Divorce Towers by Ellen Meister. An intriguing love story with a kind of special setting. The main character was the concierge of a apartment complex, which I feel like I don't really see that storyline very often. Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. Cute middle-aged love story. Remember Me Tomorrow by Farrah Heron. This one was a page-turning, thrilling, supernatural love story that I honestly really enjoyed. Cut and Thirst by Margaret Atwood. Short story, not really sure what this was about. It seemed like it could have been the beginning of a book. Again, another like free short story that I got from Amazon. Powerless series by Lauren Roberts. This one has 3 books in it so far. I read Powerless, Powerful, and Reckless, and this one gave me Throne of Glass vibes, and I actually really enjoyed it. So it was kind of a mix of fantasy and a little bit of dystopian. I really like the magic in this one, and definitely waiting for the next book in the series to come out. Nobody's Perfect by Sally Kilpatrick. Cute cliche divorcee novel where the main character kind of just gets it all after a nasty divorce. And then the Zodiac Academy series slash Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac series by Caroline Peckman and Suzanne Valenti, and this series was the one that actually got me out of my reading slump this year because I was in a bad reading slump. This was just such an intricate fantasy world with like so much going on and pretty heavy dose of smut to be honest, so do be warned. So far I'm reading the books all in publication order, so they started publishing both series kind of simultaneously, so I've been going like back and forth reading the books from the 2 different series. In terms of the Zodiac Academy series, so I read from Origins of the Academy Bully up until Shadow Princess, which is the 4th book, and then for the Ruthless Boys series I read read Ruthless Fae, which is the first one up until Vicious Fae, which I just finished, and that's the third book. I still have quite a few books to go, and I think that it'll be a pretty hefty chunk of the books that I read next year. And lastly, How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. This one I read for Lore DIY's book club, and it was just a cute holiday read. I was not expecting the amount or the kind of smut that was in it, but nevertheless, it was just like a cute, fun read. It was a little bit longer than I would have liked, but a good way to kind of end the season / the year. So those were all 44 books that I read this year. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite book that you read this year was. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!